The story of Jacob, son of Abraham, is a significant and detailed account in the Bible. Jacob's story spans across several chapters in the book of Genesis, specifically starting from Genesis 25 and continuing through Genesis 50. Here's an overview of his story. Jacob was born to Isaac and Rebekah, who were both elderly and struggled with infertility. According to the biblical account, Rebekah received a prophecy from God that she would give birth to two nations, and that the elder would serve the younger. Jacob had a twin brother named Esau, who was born just before him. Esau was the firstborn and therefore held the rights and blessings of the eldest son. Jacob, on the other hand, was described as being cunning and clever. One day, when Esau returned from the field famished, Jacob convinced him to sell his birthright, the privileges and inheritance of the firstborn, for a bowl of stew. Esau later regretted this decision. As Isaac grew old and his eyesight weakened, he wished to bless Esau before his eventual death. However, Rebekah favored Jacob and devised a plan for him to deceive Isaac and receive the blessing instead. Based on his mother's suggestion, Jacob dressed in Esau's clothes, covered his arms in fur to imitate Esau's hairiness, and brought a meal to Isaac. Despite his suspicions, Isaac was convinced by Jacob's deception and blessed him with wealth, power, and prominence. When Esau realized that Jacob had deceived their father and received the blessing, he was furious and planned to kill Jacob. However, their mother discovered this plan and advised Jacob to flee to her brother Laban's house in Padan Aram until Esau's anger subsided. On his journey, Jacob had a dream of a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending upon it. God appeared to him and reaffirmed the promise made to his grandfather, Abraham, that his descendants would be numerous and blessed. Jacob eventually arrived at Laban's house and fell in love with Laban's younger daughter, Rachel. Jacob pledged to work for Laban for 7 years in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage. However, Laban deceived Jacob into marrying his older daughter, Leah, before allowing him to marry Rachel. Jacob continued to work for Laban for another 7 years to fulfill his commitment to Rachel, whom he loved. He eventually had 12 sons and at least one daughter with his wives, Leah and Rachel, as well as their handmaids, Bilhah and Zilpah. After many years with Laban, Jacob decided to return to his homeland. Upon hearing about Esau's approach, Jacob was filled with fear and sent gifts ahead to appease his brother. That night, he wrestled with a divine being, often interpreted as an angel or God himself, and received a blessing and a new name, Israel, which means, one who has wrestled with God. Jacob and Esau eventually met, and to Jacob's surprise, Esau showed forgiveness and reconciliation, dispelling his earlier anger. Jacob settled in Shechem, but due to conflicts in the region, he moved to Bethel, where God reaffirmed his covenant and promised the land to him and his descendants. During Jacob's time in Bethel, his beloved wife Rachel died while giving birth to their youngest son, Benjamin. Jacob eventually returned to his father, Isaac, and spent the remaining years of his life in the land of Canaan. Jacob's story is filled with family dynamics, sibling rivalry, deceit, divine intervention, and ultimate reconciliation. It is a tale of complex relationships, personal growth, and God's faithfulness to the promise made to his ancestors.